What up, Moody?
What's up? What's up?
How you doing, man? Glad to have you back.
Hmm.
Another week back on the porch.
Yep.
Um, back of the porch, if you want to call it whatever. Yeah. How was I want to call it vacation, but how
Yeah.
was the family gathering?
It was cool. It was never drama free, but it was still a good time. See everybody. My whole wife's side of the family was effectively there. It was Big Mama's 70th birthday, basically. So the whole all the church community had to come out and everything. The
Yeah.
big old we had more fruit than anything. So much food, but the fruit we had six fruit platters that
Mm-hmm.
were all hand cut and everything, and it was bro, there was maybe two of those that got a dent in them,
Yeah.
and it was just who brought all this, but and it wasn't us too, so it was kind of like a mystery. They were like, all right, so people just kept bringing fruit platters. Is that what was happening? But yeah, they were smashing on those blackberries. Got to see the nephews playing together. You know what I'm saying? So that
Yeah.
was cool, and yeah, good time. Happy birthday, Ma. My mother-in-law, Laverne Cheek, out there. So
Shout
uh,
out.
and other family news. I didn't tell you this, but my mom's oldest sister, Aunt Sandy, she just passed yesterday.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
yeah, but natural causes. I mean, literally just happened within the last 24 hours. So it's not like we don't even know what happened yet.
Yeah.
They just said she fell on the way to the bathroom. So rest in peace, Aunt Sandy, Joan Williams. They used to confuse the crap out of me as a kid. Before you understand, people take different names.
Yeah.
Aunt Sandy's real name is Joan, but so when I get this when I see her in the mail, I see Joan Williams. I'm like, who is this? Because she was previously married and divorced before I was even born,
Yeah.
and just kept his name. So I'm like, who the fuck is Joan Williams as a kid? And then it takes me until I'm 12 to realize, oh, that's just Aunt Sandy. That's all. But anyway. Sunday Percy's
Yeah.
easy discussion. It was just the HBO Prestige Television. Both of the spring television shows came to their finales. Last of Us season 2 and The Rehearsal season 2.
I'm only caught up on the rehearsal.
Oh
I
my
still got to.
goodness.
I actually got to watch episode 6. I started 6. I watched it super late, and I started to fall asleep.
Mhm.
So I got to rewatch half of that. But I remember a little bit of what was going on in that. But I haven't seen the finale yet.
Yeah. Well, strap yourself in. I mean, and it's funny because I remember telling you during season 1 that I was like, the second game has to be at least 2 seasons for sure. And I'm wondering if it's I think it allegedly might be 3. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
supposed to be 3 seasons.
3 more seasons coming?
No, just
3 total. Okay,
yeah, it's
good. All
only the
right, that's
first
how I
season.
predicted it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, it does have one of the it doesn't have the appearance of the big bad guy,
Mm-hmm.
a different big bad guy that I was thinking about, but it does have a shocking moment that I was predicting. So get caught up with that for sure.
Yeah.
Or we'll watch
We'll
that.
probably watch it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny because I had the thought. I'm like, man, we haven't seen Caitlin Deaver's character since episode 2, and I'm like, where the hell she been? Where is she at? I thought she was supposed to be a little bit more involved in this season. So I'm curious to see. Obviously, I feel like she has to appear within episode 6 or 7 at some point. So
well, yeah, I can't continue this discussion anymore without you finishing it. So on the other tip, the rehearsal season 2, Nathan Fielder is an official pilot, flying around the world, relocating old Boeing 747s now.
Yeah.
And did you see an appearance on CNN?
Yeah, I watched that.
I didn't watch that yet. But
yeah. It was funny because one of the anchors was just clearly trying to like Jay Uso kind of breaking character because they're usually pretty kind of stern. Yeah. Not stern, but they can kind of keep it. They're a little bit more composed. But as soon as Nathan started talking, it just felt like, am I being punked here? What is going on?
Yeah.
And it's it genuinely felt like you're seeing a little bit more of the actual Nathan and not the character, because that's always has been his thing. It's you never know what type of Nathan are you meeting right now.
It's funny because with the whole thing with, I like this carrot of him, is he autistic or not?
Mm-hmm.
That I see that almost kind of I guess the carrot for the end of all of his shows. I feel like that could be his thing. He's so meta and reflective that especially with this show, you don't know what's real and what's not with him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't tell because his, facial mannerisms or his responses are like delayed and like you don't know if he's just taking you in or if he's like he says in the show, pretending to be like you.
Yeah, is he working you?
Exactly.
You don't know if it's a work or or if it's shoot.
Exactly. And that's what makes his comedy so unique. Yeah. In my opinion. It's like that also terrifies me. I feel like I wouldn't want to meet him.
Yeah,
I don't want to meet him in person, actually.
But what an amazing season of television of just going from like point A to point B. I try to explain the show to somebody, and I'm like, it's really hard to explain it in a sense because it's just. And
you would also have, it's reality television, but you would also have to watch season 1 to even.
I would say I always tell people, I'm like, if you're gonna try to get into it, just watch the first episode of season 1. Yeah, because that basically explains like what he is generally doing in the show, and then after that, it goes into whatever narrative for the season that they're talking about.
Yeah, because season 1 felt like it was definitely more reflective of him. It's like him by the end of it, like raising kids and stuff like that. And there you have that shot where the child actor, who he was telling to call him dad, is like he's leaving. He's like, "Oh, it's over now," and he's crying, and it's like, "All right, dog. Like, what are we doing here?" You know what I'm saying? And this season is all about like airline safety and trying to make a difference. And then in the cut, the big reveal is that for the last 2.5 years, he's actually been getting his pilot's license, and he's a legit pilot now. And I'm like, we texted about this, and I'm like, yo, being a pilot as a side hustle is crazy. Like,
while you getting awesome, all this money from HBO and all this stuff,
and he says in the show like, oh, I don't need the funding for all of this stuff. Like, I'm a comedian. He's like, I don't need any of this shit. And like, he's able to just like basically bypass all like normal rules by the fact that this is an HBO production.
Yeah, and I'm
just
not
to prove that he can fly.
Paying passengers,
exactly,
just, like actors that I'm flying around. But still, I mean, people are trying.
But all the real world
people on the Reddit, they're like asking, like, "Oh, is this real or not? Like, how do we know that they didn't fake? Like, those were like those scenes of like when we see the passengers in the plane. That's just another shot of not Nathan not flying the plane." And I'm like,
of course.
You gotta. If whatever the case, I'm believing what I'm seeing, and I'm like, because as soon as you see that outside shot of the plane, I was like, how are they getting that shot?
And that hyper realistic, like zoom in, you see the zoom in from the other plane, and you see Nathan in the cockpit.
And I'm like, how are they getting that shot? And then they literally explain to you that, like, yeah, there's an airplane next to us. Don't mind them. And I'm like, yo, this is your first flight with 159 people on this joint. Even the co-pilot, like before they even took off, he was like, it started to hit him that it was like, yo, this is a little wild and dangerous. And so you could see a little bit of nervousness.
And that's what was so great about, because that's Nathan's whole point, is that like he knows that he's a comedian, that's his main job, and that people are going to look at him like that. So that's why he kept poking the co-pilot and being like, "Oh, you think I'm okay to do this?" And
I don't even think he was poking him. I think he was
poking him, but
I feel like he was feeling the same thing that pilots naturally felt. Like I said, like,
I don't mean poking in a negative way. I just mean like trying to pull that out of him, being like, "Hey, are you okay with me flying this? You know, like tell me what you really think right now." And the whole time, the guy is like, like we said, we don't know if it's a shoot or a work, but it's like, hey, we know this is a real plane, and they're going through all the checks and stuff like that. And he's like, the only way to prove this is if I do it. You know what I mean? And he proved it to himself and everybody who cared about this show. So that was worth chewing on. But that was the person. Yeah, the rehearsal.
But I can't imagine that even again. One last thing, but again, you start off with like that. What was remember the young pilot Moody?
Mm-hmm.
And like after like 2 episodes, I'm like, yo, you about to break this man's up relationship.
Yeah.
And then it goes into that Sully episode, which is like insane.
Mm-hmm. Living his life and stuff.
Insane episode of television. And then on top of that, you got to tell somebody, oh yeah, he built this entire airport terminal. Yeah. Like,
yeah, I got to go back and watch episode 4. Yeah, living Sully's life. And like I told you, like it made me look up the word chortle.
Yeah.
Like I was choking on my laughter the same way he was like being waterboarded by that giant fucking doll playing his mom.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'll keep it on the entertainment tip. Go from back from the couch to back from the movies. Saw 2 movies this week. Saw yesterday I told you I saw Karate Kid Legends. And that is the new Karate Kid. It stars Jackie Chan. It has Ralph Macchio, and obviously they find some young talented person to do the karate scenes similar to like Miguel. They got this one guy. I forget his name, but his name in the movie is like Li Fong. I forget his real name, but he comes from Beijing to America after his brother died, and his mom was like, "Yeah, we got to move to America," and basically just she got a job or something out there for whatever reason. He ends up getting into a fighting tournament called like the Five Boroughs, and it goes against basically it's kind of basically Karate Kid 1. It's all right.
Yeah.
The fighting scenes were pretty cool. I give them that. They were much better. Especially where they take place. They like fight on like a rooftop. It's pretty dope. It just felt it was cut up too quick. I was surprised how fast that movie was. That movie started 5:05 and it finished at 6:40.
Yeah.
So it was like an hour and a half.
Nice throwback to our childhood.
Yeah,
that's what I'd be looking for nowadays. Honestly, I look for a tight 95.
Yeah,
like for real. So it's like,
but I felt like if it was actually like a Netflix show, I'm like, oh yeah, we could flesh out at least some of these parts because there were some parts I was like, okay, I'd like to dig into that a little bit deeper, but I was like, man, that was flying through that movie. I was like, oh, we already at the tournament. Yeah. They showed you. He was like, Jack James was like, yo, you got 7 days to train for this tournament, and then they showed like the counter for the days, and they immediately went from 7 to 4.
Yeah,
I was like, shit. Yo. And then it went from like 4 to like 1, and then you got like you saw a little montage of it, but basically the training was done within a month, like 2 montages, and then you were at the tournament, and then the tournament it basically zoomed through that to get to the finals. I was like, dog, this movie is flying, but I gave it a 2.5.
I'll watch it on streaming. I like Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
there you go. Simple as that.
streaming, no rush. But it was pretty entertaining. I'd be curious to see him, that kid in there, and Miguel like do like Karate Kick tag team.
Yeah,
that should be the next one, Karate Kick tag team. But the better movie, and I think one of the best horror movies that I've seen this year was Bring Her Back by the Filippo brothers, who also did Talk to Me. Man, what a horror! Like, it's a very visceral, gruesome horror movie where, man,
a brother and sister witness a terrifying ritual at a scheduled home for their new foster mother.
Yeah,
89% on Rotten Tomatoes as of right now.
Amazing! It's an amazing film. It's very like I'm not even turned off by horror like that. It doesn't really bother me, but there are some scenes in there where I'm like, man, like that is. The practical effects of how they pull it off make it even feel that much more realer. Like we were just talking about like Final Destination and how those scenes could be like a little bit cartoonish, but they still kind of hit you in that like, damn, that like that's kind of this one feels very legitimate of like how these things would be playing out. And everybody, the kids, the foster mother, everybody played it off amazingly well. About grief, and especially how grief can lead to people doing some extreme things. But I also think another subject of it is that sometimes these foster care systems are very effed up and they do not care about these children. Yeah. And they don't really keep up on checks on like who these people are that they're giving these children to. So that is another thing I feel like needs to be called out. As we saw like in that Atlanta episode with the same similar kind of thing where those 3
black kids are adopted by the lesbian couple.
Yeah, and it was just like, yo, and that was based off a real true story. Yeah. So it's like, yeah.
And that kid didn't survive. The one that survives in the show in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Bring Her Back, highly recommend. I admit it's a tough watch if you're not into certain gruesome scenes, but overall, amazing.
It's a trigger warning of a movie. For sure.
Yeah. It's not going to be something like you're always going to continuously go back and watch, but when you watch, you be like, okay, this was a great movie. Difficult to watch, but great nonetheless. So I highly recommend anybody to watch it at least one time and be like, yeah, that was a great movie to watch. So anything else on these Percy's?
Nah, that's it. Let's go.
Let's get into the show.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
Welcome everyone to the Wrestling Rehab Podcast, a weekly stroll. I'm Mahabasha Hayes, Samson. Definitely missed that on the opening.
Well, I was gonna mention I'm the French fried fro. You were messing with the settings a little bit, so I wasn't sure what you were doing. I thought,
Hey,
I was letting you handle it, so that's all. I just wasn't
good.
sure what it was.
It's
but
all
it's fine.
good.
We here.
Episode 47. And who's our 47s?
Historical great Mel Blount, 4-time part of the Steel Curtain. The reason that Deion Sanders started playing corner, the original GOAT corner. And Andre Kirilenko, the AK-47, Utah Jazz great. So.
Yeah. All right. Again, we got to get these out. We got about, 49? Not 49, 60. My math is bad right now. 53.
Oh, yeah. Left
50,
in the 100,
53 left before we have to stop this bit. So definitely got to get these when we can.
We got the next 101 is Dalmatians. We know that one already. There you go.
Yeah, right.
We'll come up with
And they have 102 as well?
Yes, they do. They
Okay.
also have 102. So
we at least got 2 over 100. But busy week of wrestling. We're coming off of a big pop-up show weekend where your boy came out 2-0. Surprise, surprise. I did not expect to get the AEW Double or Nothing win, but I'll take that. And I am starting the season off pretty good, 2-0-1. And I'm happy about that. So we'll recap that, and we'll also talk about Saturday night's main event, which I did not watch, but things happened. We'll talk about it. Let's actually start off with Saturday night's main event just to kind of get it out the way. You went back and watched it through. What did you think of it?
Well, the reason to watch it was, I mean, for me, it had to be Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Ending with a concerto with Damian Priest winning. I enjoyed that very much. And since then, it's come out that, he's taking time off, but it's like, yeah, whenever you're on a hot streak, you gotta, let us not see him for like 2 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's coming off a scorching hot, back-to-back years, basically.
And he's legitimately hurt. He came out and said that he couldn't turn left.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah, you said he couldn't do Blue Steel. Bless you.
Thank you.
John Cena versus R-Truth. I mean, that went exactly how we thought it was going to go, but it was just for the dramatic effect to have that moment of R-Truth being like, "What are you doing, John? You're my hero," and giving us the fake out for the match, like he's going to hit him with the title, but it's a low blow, AA, and then he just hits him with the title afterwards. So, but that's really more so about Cody coming back. So,
yeah,
Cody coming back. That's the big thing, because very predictable as Saturday night main events usually are, which is why we agreed that it shouldn't be counted as a pop up.
Yeah, until they show better that it's not just an elevated Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. It's just like, nah, we won't be counting these. I would say, just from reading, because I read what was going on as it was happening, but I didn't watch the show. I would say the return of Bronson Reed was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, and that was in the tag match where it's CM Punk and Sami Zayn.
Yeah,
against, as I've been calling them, Seth's division, but Seth and Braun Breaker at that point in time. And now we got, like you said, Bronson Reed attacking CM Punk on the outside.
Yeah,
and that's what causes the distraction. Super spear to Sammy. He gets folded in half. Whenever it's done. I mean, it's fun. Like, how do you like? I like the super spear personally. Like, just that straight up as his finisher, because it's like, once again, it's like one of those moves where you just lean into the kayfabe of it. That he's moving so fast and it's so explosive that it hits you harder. It's like a clothesline from hell from JBL, because that was just based off the setup and the way you would take it, because the setup was always just that hard Irish rip into the corner. Your chest hits it, you back up, and before you know it, he's already bringing this lariat after he comes off the
rope.
He's
coming off that rope heavy too.
Exactly.
He makes it look like I'm swinging.
Exactly, and that shit folds you.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what I'm saying. It feels like it's the clothesline from hell version.
That's a very good comparison.
Super spear.
I would agree with that. And again, that he's a football player.
Yeah.
So he's hitting it better than most people are hitting it. You know what I'm saying?
And if we were doing predictions on this, I think I would have won this just because I said earlier on, we were talking about who would be, in his group. And you said Trick Williams was a good choice. I love that choice also, but I was like, yeah. And I said Bronson Reed immediately, but I was like, oh, his foot's broke. I didn't know he was healthy. So it's like, because to me, I was like, you need more muscle in this group, because you were saying, it's like, yeah, isn't Braun Breaker your muscle? But I'm like, yeah, but he's short. Like, you know, like
it's
you
funny,
need somebody
when you put
that's
Bronson
like
Reed next to him, you're like, oh yeah,
he's
Bronson
still small.
Reed.
Yeah,
you look way smaller than him.
You need an enforcer in there. He's like he said, he's still the tutelage. He's an outside linebacker. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like
fullback.
Yeah, but I just mean size and build.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But Bronson Reed is a fucking D tackle. He's a nose tackle, arguably. Like he could be like I could see that for sure. At the bare minimum, he's a left or right guard. Yeah, goddamn straight up. but yeah, that was great. He's part of the Vision now. And the only other thing that happened on there was, Jay beat Logan Paul. Obviously, we knew that was it.
Yeah,
Logan Paul wasn't gonna.
Yeah, John Cena came and interfered, and now we're on this road to having a tag team match of John Cena and Logan Paul versus Cody and Jey Uso. Yeah. Yippee.
I know what the main event is, Come on now.
It's funny, from hearing all the conversation, though, I feel like the biggest conversation came about Jesse Ventura making comments about the cage match and stipulation of how I think Damian Priest just like walked out the cage. And it became like a conversation bit online, I feel like, about the cage and like, does it make sense to just be able to walk out?
Of course it doesn't, because it's kayfabe. That's what we deal with as wrestling fans. They groomed that old blue steel cage out of us. The one that they had to actually use before there was Hell in a Cell, before there was any of that shit. It was the old blue steel cage. That's Jesse Ventura's generation. Mm-hmm. You couldn't walk out of that shit. That was steel, It wasn't even chain link like it is now. Like chain link is even better because it's soft. You know what I'm saying? You can like rebound off of it and stuff. And it looks great for a camera also. But of course he's right. Of course it doesn't make sense you should walk out. But because that gives us those moments of Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and it's like, he had to make that decision of, am I just gonna leave this match? Because that's how you had to escape back then. You had to climb out. Mm-hmm. Or am I gonna sacrifice my body because I hate this guy so much? And we know he jumps back in the ring and hits a Superfly from the top of the steel cage. So it's like, yeah, that's a good storybook element of his generation. I think it's just, you have to turn it into something else. Like when you have that door, it gives you the ability to have Mark Henry rip the, hinges off. Like that's happened before. Or Big Show, whoever's done that. People have done that. Or like, even the obvious reinforcements in a steel cage, because a steel cage back in the day was supposed to be, like I said, Hell in a Cell. Nobody can interfere. With the door, people are interfering. Like, obviously.
I mean, even Hell in a Cell had a door, but I think the issue that people might have is like, it doesn't make sense. If you can win by pinfall, like, why would you walk out the door or just escape? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's where my issue with the cage match has been. Is like, I feel like there was a certain point where there was no referee in the ring, mm-hmm. and you had to escape.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they started adding a referee in the ring. I'm like, okay, then like, I guess what's the point of escaping out of the ring
if you can just beat them up?
You can just pin them. Mm-hmm. And so my thing is, I feel they should basically split the stipulations up of the cage match into two. So it's like either you win by pinfall and you can't escape, or you have to win by escaping the cage. Yeah. But they shouldn't be both in the same match.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's where I feel like the cage match could be improved, because I always say, like, it doesn't make sense nowadays. I don't understand why a referee's in the ring during a cage match.
Yeah, and this is falling on Jesse Ventura's side, because you had to escape. That was the original thing about a steel cage match.
Yeah.
You had to climb out. So, yeah, coming from him, of course, I mean, I think it's just a good reminder of, like, back in my day, but it's like, oh, shit, yeah, we haven't heard that in a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think
I'm not saying that he's being ornery, but I'm like...
I don't even think it's, like, a back-in-the-day thing. I'm like, you guys need to be a little bit more clear as far as, like, logic, as far as, like, how does a cage match make sense? Instead of, like, again...
He poked at the boundary of the kayfabe, for sure, on the steel cage. So, yeah, I mean, I don't mind it at all. I mean, we just had it out now. So
I'm just saying, if you have a ref in the ring, just make it that you can't escape. You have to get the pinfall.
Yeah. That's what the ref is there for.
But if you don't have a ref in the ring, then the way you win is by escaping the cage. Yeah. Whether that be through the door or climbing over. But again, why have the door? Why climb over
if you got the door? Exactly, because he's down that long. So just take the door off, which is also what Jesse is saying. Just take the door off. Yeah. So
let them get into the ring and then put the cage over them. But that Saturday night's main event, we went perfect on both of it. It was an easy card to predict. What do you want to get into next?
Battleground, obviously, we're escalating in importance.
escalating in importance. Battleground. I thought it was a really good show.
Yeah, you said effectively like I gave you this, and I'm like, I had that same thought of like, all right, well, I can still just like kind of like Stephen A. Smith whenever he has like commentary for LeBron. He's like, he's a great father, he's a great husband, all that's that disclaimer. I'm like, I'm about to give the disclaimer right now. I don't like Hank and Tank. I like, still they're not over with me. I don't know if they ever will be. Like the whole storyline of losing confidence. All right, it made sense because we knew Fraxi. Somebody has to be the champions. That's how I feel about them. Somebody has to do it effectively. With that being said, I can acknowledge that obviously they're still over for other people.
Yeah,
and I shouldn't be ignoring that in my predictions, right? Like when I'm talking about being something obvious. So that is my disclaimer. Going forward, because I'm like, I don't want to just keep shooting myself in the foot because it's also disingenuous.
Yeah.
Like for the score. You know what I mean? I don't want to like give you the season.
I said it when I saw it. I was like, if you're going with the culling, I'm like, I'm gonna go with Hank and Tank. Hank and Tank.
I still thought there was a chance anyway. Like, but
possibly.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, faction warfare breaks isn't part of like, he's not the homie really.
Yeah.
A Tank and Tank, that's the tag team. I thought the culling, actual faction, whatever.
Yeah.
And also plus me not liking them. So, but running through real quick, Sol Ruka retained against Kaylani Jordan.
Yeah, great match.
Yeah. Cause we gotta get to the headline. I feel like we chewing on a lot.
Yeah.
But Tony D lost to Stacks, like that had to happen.
With returning
Luca Crucifino.
Yeah, which was kind of weird because it's like you just stood there and looked at him.
Yeah.
But didn't attack him. And then it's like it caused all the it was a
confusion and storyline. Like, bro,
it was a little weird how it played out, but I'm like, okay.
Obafemi, of course, he like fucked up Miles Bourne. Poor Miles Bourne, but at least
he
had his first title shot.
I thought for sure that Charlie Dempsey was gonna like interfere. Didn't. Clean match, but yeah, Miles Bourne looked great in the loss.
Yeah. And honestly, in my heart of hearts, obviously this is the biggest news story coming out of this show, is that Trick Williams won the TNA Heavyweight Championship from Joe Henry at this show. And I had mentioned this to you previously. I was like, if there's any time that I felt like it was like somebody was overcooked and like there's more time for if there's any time that they were gonna do this, like in the relationship, now feels most likely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because in my heart didn't want me to have Trick win. But my brain was still like, how many times is Joe Hendry going to defend this title? You know what I'm saying? On WWE. And they've run this match back already on TNA at Rebellion.
Yeah.
So this is the rubber match. And I'm like, obviously he has to win. Like in my Booker mind, it's a rubber match. Obviously Trick's winning. So yeah, my heart told me, I'm like, nah, dog, that was because Evil Empire, I texted you that. Like, I was like, the Evil Empire's gonna win every time. And sure enough, I'm like, this is I want to say one of the darkest universes, and like Kaz has the exact opposite opinion of me, and he's like, oh no, this is the most exposure TNA has ever had on all this stuff. Sure, but we're not gonna sit here and act like Trick is gonna be staying on TNA and carrying the brand for a year as the title or as the champion or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I mean, if he's on there on like Raw with the TNA title and then showing up on TNA,
oh, he will be for sure.
That's a big look. That's a big look. I again, during when it happened, I'm like, I said it to you in text. I was WWE and everybody is going to try to spin this and like how it'll be a good thing that this is happening the way it's happening. Somebody on either side of the brand between TNA and WWE needed to lose the title to the other company.
Yeah,
I think most people would prefer WWE to lose a title to TNA,
obviously, because that would be the huge look, and like we'd be like, "Where's the North American Championship?"
Especially if you're going TNA versus NXT, and like TNA is actually like a legit company and not NXT. No offense, but like it's still a developmental, television brand. You're not all. It's not Raw or SmackDown. You're going against. You're going against the younger generations, against people on TNA that have been wrestling for, however many years. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not even a really fair comparison. But again, I think it's TNA, at least right now for their television, for their storyline, a company-wide storyline is who's going to be the savior. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a better storyline than who's going to be the savior for WWE.
Of course,
than for TNA. It's like, okay, so we'll see how it plays out. I
it
feel
plays out exactly how you think it does. We haven't seen AJ Styles in a bit. He will be the savior of TNA because he deserves that in the twilight of his career. Where AJ Styles, like Trick will have the title for 6 months or however long this cycle is going to be. 6 months is even long to me in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I had already been saying, well, we definitely know Trick needs to do something else because I was like calling him for the draft and all this stuff. So if he's the TNA champion, that ain't happening. So because think about how you could say that's a good look, but imagine drafting Trick right now and he's on SmackDown as the TNA heavyweight champion.
I can see that.
But that's some bullshit from the TNA perspective because once again, if I'm looking back at just straight up Impact, are you watching Impact every week? And we see who's on there, like who's like in some of those main events where carrying the cycle, it's like Masha Slamovich versus Shotzi Blackheart or versus, JC Jane. And if you're a TNA fan, I would just be the advocate to say, like, basically pushing your people out of their spots because it's NXT people who are coming over, and not, let alone just like, because I would say the best look that they've had up to this point, like the best storyline, was the Zachary Wentz and Wesley, because they were actually the Rascals, and like he had that whole heel turn with them when they were actually in NXT as MSK, and then they end up leaving and they go back as the Rascals, and he turns heel on them, and we have him and Zachary Wentz going back and forth for the TNA X Division title. But Wesley was, you would say at that point, he's a TNA guy still at that point in time, just working on the NXT brand. So either way, it's a good look, sure. But we said it's tough for Joe Hendry to go from like, oh yeah, individually for his career, obviously this is great.
It's great.
Royal Rumble to like, we know he's going to be on NXT very soon, or he might as well be. He might as well be on the main roster of like, he could get drafted because he's already over with. NXT is a bigger show than TNA.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just comparatively. So he would work on the main roster right now too. It's just a whole lot of obvious scavenging that I'm saying is going along because now we're turning TNA into co-NXT, basically.
I think so for the Joe Hendry part, I will say in a kayfabe sense, it sucks that in a month this dude lost at WrestleMania in less than 5 minutes. And then lost the TNA championship to another company. That's on the kayfabe side. Obviously, you're on WrestleMania. Yeah. And then you got to put losing the champion. You're doing more to put over the other guy. So again, there's still goodness to come out of that. You were champion for however many months. On the company side, I go back. I'm like, if Trick is on, I'll say Raw just for scheduling purposes, because then he could still make Impact on Thursday or whenever they record. But if Trick is on Raw, gets drafted to Raw, and he's facing Mike Santana on Raw for the TNA championship, I think that's a bigger look. I think if for TNA superstars that want to like go after and be the savior and win it off a Trick, they're doing it out on Raw. That's like, that's helping out for both.
See, but you adding stuff. We didn't bring up somebody from TNA going to the main roster of Raw. We didn't bring that up.
They're working. I'm saying if they're working in partnership as a business, why not? I'm saying not everybody needs to do it. You can still have certain people from TNA still work on NXT, but for the people that want to go after the championship, and the fact that the championship is being held by a guy that currently is on the main roster,
are we getting
I would say I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen every week, but there could be opportunities to have like, we as TNA we also want to put this guy go get this championship back.
I agree. That's a great storyline for TNA. Obviously, who's going to be the savior of TNA? I agree with that. Like, there's no fault in that. Are we going to predict Mike Santana pushing 15 minutes of TV time on Monday Night Raw over somebody else who's already on the main roster? I'm just saying that's a tough ask. That's all I'm saying.
You never know. I mean, look,
I'm sure you never
putting
know.
AAA people on right now. I'm just saying, and again, we talking about Raw, 3 hours, 2.5 hours that Raw's 2.5 hours for the most part. They don't even use the 30 extra minutes that they could be using. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave not even 10 minutes. It could be not even 15 minutes. It could be a 10-minute match.
Sure. Do you agree that that's hopeful? That's all I'm saying. Hopeful.
I think it's plausible.
I said that's plausible. I said hopeful.
I mean,
do you think it's likely?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. All right, that's enough for that. But
I do think it's likely.
Okay, sure. But yeah, that was the biggest thing. Trick losing his title or winning the title. My bad. I got that completely reversed. And then Double or Nothing. Definitely the biggest show of the weekend.
The best show.
The best show and the biggest. 10 matches.
5-hour show.
I didn't appreciate the last minute ad either. Like also for Saturday night's main event. And yeah, I'm like, come on, dog. There was a piece of me that was like, I wanted to text you back and be like, we shouldn't count this match if they're gonna tell us literally 30 minutes before, you know what I mean? Because it's like you ain't give us nothing. So, but whatever, we rolled with it.
I wanted to call out also for this Double or Nothing that this is, I think, the most disagreements that we had in picks. Like I was like, oh, especially like the last 4 matches on here, we all had opposite selections.
Yeah, and I wasn't gonna. I mean, we're talking about our review of Score right now because I was gonna say, obviously, we agreed on Ospreay up until the moment before, and obviously, it's the most 50-50. So I didn't say anything about that, and I'm like, okay, sure, you can go with that. And once again, I even agree in this, like the last minute bullshit of the Paragon versus Don Callis family. I was like, Paragon's irrelevant. I said that in there because I'm like, I don't fucking know, like. Because I would say Don Callis family is obviously more over. We're doing a straight up bet of who's more likely to win that match. It's obviously the Don Callis family.
I always say, I'm like, the Don Callis family, I feel like I've always just seen them lose. They put on great matches, but they lose. Whether it be in one-on-ones or in these group situations, the last few weeks or months, I feel like I've seen them on the losing end. And I'm like, all right, you got to get at least one.
And the 2 biggest guys, I mean, Takeshita lost his international title to Omega.
Yeah.
And Kyle Fletcher, who, I said it's like completely over with me ever since the Will Ospreay complete trilogy with the steel cage. He lost that too. So it's like, they are coming off as a group as a huge loss, but obviously they're still fucking amazing.
Yeah.
One of the best wrestlers, like both of them. I love them both. But and then the Anarchy in the Arena match, you have faces versus, heels. I just more whimsically just put heels just because it's the fun match. So I didn't really feel strongly either way. But if I would have put thought into it, I would have picked faces, honestly, for storyline reasons. But I was just like, this is fun. And then I went back actually, and I was like, because All In and or Anarchy in the Arena is kind of like that's their cartoon Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? But it's just 5-on-5, or in this case 6-on-6 because we added the girls this time. I went back and looked, and I'm like, oh shit, the heels won last time. So I'm like, I definitely should have put faces because that was the one I remembered when I was making the prediction. I was like, oh yeah, last time was when Darby Allin had the flamethrower and was about to light Jungle Boy on fire.
Yeah,
and I remember I was like, oh yeah, that's how it happened. But it's like, no, that was 2 years ago. Last year was the Young Bucks winning, and they super kicked Darby Allin in the face with their thumbtacks, Jordans, and they had him hanging upside down, by his ankles. That was the end of the match, and I was like, oh shit, yeah. So the faces, I should have picked faces either way, but
I thought I was done for in the beginning when I had Jamie Hayter.
No way.
I was like, oh man, I thought the rest of the card.
That was the one where I was like, I kind of wanted to say something to you about, just because I know I was the one piping up Jamie Hayter the entire time, but as we were getting closer, I'm like, well, Mercedes versus Tony is just the biggest match you can make on your biggest show. So it's like,
I played myself
zig right there. Or
I played myself. I give myself the DJ Khaled. Congratulations, you played yourself. Because again, Jamie Hayter did well. She sold me on the build of why she had a chance of winning. And she nearly did it, but Mercedes has been working her ass off, and so she got Tony Storm at All In.
Yeah,
in about 45 days, less than 45 days.
Yeah, that was a great match. So yeah, our Owen winners is Mercedes and Hangman, which that was obviously match of the fucking night. That was so sick.
Okada versus Speedball. That was also really great.
That match had no business being as good as it was. And
I told you it was going to be a sleeper.
It was funny because I was listening to Wrestle Talk, and they were saying oh, it turns out like if he moves more than 30% speed, he's still fucking amazing. And it's
Yeah.
like that's the problem with Okada is like he's just moving at 30% speed basically since he's been on like this standard put my championship on the line and I'm gonna fucking win. But then I guess it's like something like with Mike Bailey just awoke something in him because he moves so well or something. But it's like, oh yeah, he looked urgent like in this match. You know what I mean?
It's funny. Bleacher Report made a good comment about Okada's matches, and especially on these POVs, these pop-up shows, where AEW's on cards, they're 10, 11 matches on a card. He's always like stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's kind of he's always going to put on a great match. They said it feels almost he gets underlooked, or underappreciated just for the fact that they're coming off. The fans are so exhausted at certain points that he's kind of thrown in the middle that it kind of takes them a little bit to kind of get into his matches because it's just so much going on that day. It's like there's no bit of rest, and then you get hit with an Okada speedball match, and it's like, all right, like give us a minute before, like y'all doing amazing stuff. Just get us a minute to catch our breath, then we can get into it.
Yeah, I need to like definitely look up Speedball's like moveset again, but like because I forget like Excalibur was calling out those spinning kicks he was doing. But because I was like, man, Okada ate like 5 of those, dog. Like he ate like 5 spinning, like flailing roundhouse kicks to the face, and I'm just like, that was the only time where I believed that he could have lost the title. Like I didn't obviously in kayfabe, I'm like, there's no way he's winning. But like at least as far as putting on a match and being like, holy shit, like he's eating these, like he's like knock him the fuck out in kayfabe. I'm like, holy shit. But he ate an ultimate weapon, his backflipping like knee drop from the top. Like he gave him one of those. But yeah, it takes only one Rainmaker. They definitely that is still the case. It only takes one Rainmaker for it to put anybody down for the most part. But yeah, that match was great. Like you're definitely right, sleeper on that.
That's it for me on Double or Nothing.
Yeah. Because of course, Tony retained and the Hurt Syndicate retained.
And Ricochet won.
And Ricochet was definitely gonna win that. He beat the shit out of Mark Briscoe. Yeah. Another Golden Scissors makes an appearance. A great match, great show.
Walk into the flagship store?
Yeah, for sure.
Monday Night Raw. Recap. What was the best thing you had on here?
In ring and storyline wise, or it's a tie storyline wise, but I'll give you like Seth's Vision promo with the announcement of Bronson Reed. They come out in all the suits, just straight up, classic heel faction looking stuff. And
I like the fact that the fans, I don't know what city they were in, but they were chanting, "You sold out, you sold out." And I had the same reaction like Seth. What the hell are y'all talking about? Are we watching the same television show? What do you mean he sold out? And he was like, so who do I sell out to? Sell out to myself? Like, what are you talking about? Like, do we understand what that means?
I think it's obvious that it's like, all right, last time we saw you, you were caving Seth's chest in. You know what I'm saying? That's like the impactful thing on
They
Raw,
were saying
right?
that to Bronson. I felt like they were saying that to Seth, that Seth sold out.
No. They're saying that to Bronson. Like, it's like, bro, you can beat this guy, so to speak, but you're joining the fucking evil group. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously he was heel then, but he was a badass heel where he's like, I'm gonna just go around tsunamiing people until you fucking recognize shit. Now it's like KD joining the Warriors. That's what it is. It's KD joining the Warriors. But Bronson obviously ain't KD, but at least as far as being an imposing force, he's the monster on Raw right now for sure. Who else is the Raw monster you can think of?
No, I'm not doubting.
I know. I'm just accentuating my point that kind of think of it like that, where it's like, oh, Seth is building this thing. Obviously, he's Steph. Like, he got the championship, he got the rings already, and he got his young boy that he's mentoring right now, and he got the greatest coach of all time. And he's like, hey, I just need one more. Like we've been saying, he needs some muscle. He needs the Draymond. You got Bronson Reed, like, you know what I'm saying, or effectively KD, like I'm saying. It's like, bro, I think that's what it is. So they're chanting that at Bronson, and that's why. I mean, also in kayfabe, we should be booing them. They are a heel group, so we're booing Bronson and booing the alliance of them.
Kind of heel in my eyes.
Exactly, but you would also say that he was a heel then, so he would do whatever the fuck he wants anyway. But it would be kind of like if Jacob, like, I don't know. I guess if Jacob kind of did that same thing, You know, with the Vision, we wouldn't want Jacob to join the Vision right now. He's badass enough on his own. You know what I'm saying? He's even halfway breaking up with the Bloodline as we speak. But either way, that was the best thing. And Seth and the Vision obviously qualify him. You know, we got to see great, like, man, fucking Paul Heyman as like the fucking what's the Lord of the Rings precious guy? Gollum.
Yeah.
Like when he grabbed, I forget in the match who was this match against. It was Seth versus but there's a point in the match where the guy's setting up to like hit a finisher on Seth, and it like Heyman grabs his ankle, you know, underneath the rope, and he's just like he just has a rat.
Sami Zayn and Finn Balor.
Yeah, Sami Zayn. Yeah, he grabbed Sami Zayn's foot because he was about to do the haluva kick.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm just like, yo, are you kidding me? Like, just going straight to the like piece of shit, like willing to do anything, kind of like not just an advocate, but a fucking willing to interfere. He never interfered with Roman. I mean, well, he did sometimes, but he wasn't. He did it for
there was other guys that interfered. Usually, the bloodline would be somewhere nearby around to be able to come in quickly. But I mean, when you get those three guys in a ring, you know that it's going to be just amazing wrestling match. There was actually just really good wrestling all around. I would definitely say that's probably a primo for the week.
Oh, for sure. That was my primo. My other primo that I had, I called it the other main storyline was Liv Morgan coming back.
Yeah.
And I told you I'm all for the romance. I love fucking couples relationships and drama in my wrestling. So I called it Liv Stumble back to work because she walks in and sees her kayfabe man getting a shoulder rub and more chicken tendies given to him from Roxanne Perez immediately. And it's immediate, like, it's so funny because obviously they're acting, but I'm just like, yo, I saw Liv's real face, like seeing her man cheating. Like, if that was the case, like that was just phenomenal. Being like, what the fuck is going on here? Basically, like without saying that. And she's like, hey, I'm Roxanne. Bitch, shut up. Like, I'm talking to him right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's fine. I got some shit to take care of myself. And that was her actual Money in the Bank qualifier where she actually lost her qualifying match. So yeah, that's part of the stumble. Also, that was a match versus come on now. Forgive me. But either way, she should have Kairi Sane. There we go.
Yeah, Kairi Sane, and who else was in it?
No, it's just Kairi Sane.
Oh, there's only that's surprising.
Oh, it's during a backstage confrontation, the returning the Morgan squared off against Kairi Sane. Okay, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, no, I'm here. I have that Michael Jackson, like, you know, eating popcorn in the Thriller. We're just like, just getting your popcorn, just sit there and just watch.
Yeah, in the red jacket when he's
anything. Just I'm here, I'm watching it. I probably have this as a mid-rising.
Yeah, this is my primo. I like the primo.
Roxanne and Liv is going to be a really good wrestling match. I'm just, you know, I'm watching my soap right now.
He's a fucking.
This is an interesting soap opera. I'm interested to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because like we're heating up just like the drama storyline. It's like, hey, you lose him, how you get him.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like that's gonna be the story with Liv. Is like he just cheating on her ass too because Roxanne's around, and Finn is literally like he's honestly breaking up the Judgment Day because he know Dominic got weak knees. He knows he has weak knees.
I wonder if he's actually keeping the Judgment Day together and just kicking Liv out.
Either way, I think it's like a reverse of that storyline of like Rhea and Liv, where like Finn, he wants the IC title. So he's causing the drama by bringing Roxanne in and make Dom lose everything the same way that it's the Finn Balor revenge tour versus the Liv, you know, the way she did it. So that's my big brain. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah, that's good. That's good thinking right there.
Yeah, that's just a call. We're talking about it now. So I just called that now.
Yeah, you have it on wax.
Yeah, in booking, that's like, the Finn Balor revenge tour. He's going to make him break up with Liv. And he's been talking to Roxanne beforehand. She knows she's a sleeper agent. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, yo, by the end of this, we'll be the IC champions. Like, you'll be women's IC. And because we've seen, like, she lost Julia last week, and Julia was like, there's no us. She needs somewhere to, like, a family. You know what I'm saying? So, or not an ally. So, that'd be dope.
That'd be dope.
And that ends with her as IC champ and Finn as IC champ, whenever that is. But, Yeah, that was the 2 primos of the week for me. You said Mid Rising.
Mid Rising for the Roxanne and Liv, but because I'm here for it. It's definitely like bubbling to get to primo, but I'm like,
that's the primo shot right there.
Liv just came back. Let's see how this goes. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, Liv's not stupid. Plus, Roxanne, she wouldn't be not Roxanne. Raquel's
watching. Yeah.
She wouldn't have been a good friend if Liv. She haven't been given like reports on like what's happening. So
yeah,
I'm sure Liv is aware.
Yeah, that's what she said. That's exactly what she said. Basically, was snitching. I had a Mid Rising. I mean, honestly, just anything Penta does, but it was the.
Yeah, it's another great match between these 3.
The qualifying match, Penta winning versus Dragon Lee and Chad Gable.
Yeah.
Like, who they've just been breeding Chad Gable as like the main antagonist to all luchadors. So
he's got some more involved this week because there was some interference from was it Vikingo?
Vikingo, yeah. I recognized him immediately when they had the announcement. I'm like, what the hell is Hijo del Vikingo doing here?
Yeah.
Like, and then we announced this merger. So it's like,
they got AAA stars on Monday Night Raw.
Are these AAA stars? Because once again, we're saying Joe Hendry is about to be a WWE guy, right? So once again, individually, good. We're always going to argue that. Of course, they want to go to WWE because it's the biggest in the world. That's where everybody gets their fandom from. Duh, you know. Yeah. So if you're going to end up doing the same thing with NXT UK, which is effectively stripping the talent, like I mentioned, and just absorbing them, and then.
No one's saying stripping the time. Again, it's just giving them the opportunity to wrestle on that, to have that platform. That's all I'm saying. There's no one saying they need to become WWE. Just saying that, hey, if your TNA champion gets drafted to the main show, you got to go where he's at. Mm-hmm. If he's on Monday Night Raw, he's on Monday Night Raw. If he's on NXT, he's on NXT. All I'm saying that if he gets drafted to Monday Night Raw, there's more of a reason to have whoever you think is a savior of NXT for TNA to pop up on Raw. I
don't know what the betting odds are on this but I would bet that like this AAA and WWE relationship, a similar thing is going to happen, right? Where they're going to trade their heavyweight championship for like the speed championship. That's what's going to happen. Like they're going to let like, you know, a luchadora be the women's speed champion. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. And we're going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, this is good for them. Okay. All right. So, but either way,
it's easy. It's understandably to be pessimistic about.
I'm going based off of history. That's all I'm saying. The shakes that I had up here was they gave us a great visual of Rusev, because you know Rusev is bullying people, or not bullying. He's making them people better in his image through brutality. So he destroys Akira Tozawa, you know, the other half of Alpha Academy, and we get face Sheamus showing up again, and they give us that visual.
Yeah,
we're definitely getting a Rusev and Sheamus match probably next week. So
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be nice to see them back together in a ring. I feel like if I had to give them a champion, they'd get "You Got a Friend in Me" championship. Just like, oh, okay, nice.
I was gonna do the. It's funny. I had like the Leo DeCap from. I know you already made it up, so I'm stripping the title, or this would be a new champion, but. The Leo DeCap. Oh, you know that? And it's the League of Nations because, you know, Wade Barrett is still like on commentary. And it's like, bring it back. Like, let's bring somebody on. Drew Galloway. We got it. Or well, he's about to be gone, but Shinsuke is here.
Yeah.
Let's do League of Nations. It's back again.
Somebody on Twitter actually asked him that. And he was like, just put up like a throwing up meme. So I don't think Wade Barrett is into bringing back the League of Nations.
Well, yeah, but you know who the AAA champion is too, right?
Yeah, Alberto.
Exactly. So. Are we going to have Alberto on WWE television? No. We're stripping the title. Like, he's going to lose that title to somebody, and by segue, it'll get on. We'll feature it at, you know, Worlds Collide and like other shit later down the line.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it will not be Alberto Del Rio, like going forward in this relationship. I promise you that. Or if it is, we're only staying on YouTube.
Yeah,
that's a fact. So yeah, we could say Anyway, and then it was it went under the radar, but I think it was just because it was expected. But the New Day retaining, this kind of just came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that this match happened like in the moment. Like, there's a triple threat for the tag team championships. Like,
great match though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wouldn't expect it to be terrible for sure, but the New Day retained versus the Creed brothers and War Raiders. What did you think?
No, yeah, it was a great match. Surprise! Again, the thing is, The New Day, it was fun when they heel turn started, especially when they did the whole thing with Big E. Then I just noticed that every time they never really got TV time. They got the commercial break time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, they're doing a lot of good work during this commercial break time, but that just requires people to watch like the social media channels or like the web exclusives instead of actually just watching the show. And then you never really get to see them much during the show. So sometimes, again, when we have to ask ourselves, who's the champion again? It's not a good thing.
Exactly.
And
so the champions aren't featured, clearly.
Exactly. And I feel like we do that the most with the tag team titles. I feel like it's a little bit easier to remember the SmackDown titles because the division's a little bit more
They've been
fleshed
developing
out.
it clearly for the last few
But the
months,
Raw side, we should know that the New Day is a champion, but again, we don't really see them that much. And then we don't really see the tag team division that often featured on Raw as well, feels like. So, great match. All three were doing their stuff. New Day obviously gets the win off the last minute kind of roll up. Did he pull tights? Might have pulled tights, I forget. But either way, New Day wins.
Xavier Woods be pulling tights,
yeah. So we'll see how that continues. Obviously, I feel like they might do something at Money in the Bank.
I think, I agree with your point. It's because I think it's cool to have the New Day are 12-time, tag team champions. So if you were to ask me, that's where my default answer would be. I would say is the New Day. They should just be holding them. You know what I mean? And we're right, or I'd be right to say that. But just to go to your point of they've actually worked on the SmackDown tag team division being featured. I don't know if I said this before, but clearly they want SmackDown is going to be the tag team in women's show. And then Raw is just obviously all the men's solo guy shit for the most part and faction building. Because what I thought was another good wrinkle, we'll get to this, was, Wyatt Six was featured in the tag team division this week, where I like that because after the injury and stumble, of course we love the debut for them on Raw, but with the injury and stuff, they fall out of your mind. And you're like, where are they at? And it also affects Alexa Bliss. And seeing Alexa Bliss, you're immediately like, where's the Wyatt Six? You know what I'm saying? They have to be kind of attached, or you would think that they are. So, and on the Raw tag team side, the guys, if they're not, you only got the Creed brothers, the New Day, and War Raiders, which we would say are the serious tag teams, because then you got Alpha Academy, who's being featured a lot of the time as enhancement for solo guys or for monster guys. The same thing happened with Bronson Reed or Rusev this week, or the last few weeks. So that's kind of where they're at. But that's why I'll just go agreeing with your point. SmackDown tag team division is clearly better. So more exciting. That's it from me on Raw.
Yeah, I didn't have anything else either.
Yeah.
Didn't have much else either. Let's walk straight into the bodega. NXT, a major show this week. 2 new champions.
Yeah.
First one, not too surprised, is Ethan All Ego Page winning the North American title off of Ricky Starks. Pretty Ricky's.
I thought it was surprising, honestly, because this was clearly the match
surprising relative to the other championship change.
Oh, yeah, relatively, for sure. But yeah, with that one, it was just dang, I wanted it to be longer than that.
Yeah.
But it felt very once again, he is Edge. I've mentioned this before, he's the ultimate opportunist. He's very good at poking people into title shots.
Yeah.
That's just has been his character, because he kills you with a smile and he'll fucking annoy you to death, basically. And knowing that Ricky is a fighting champion, he's like, oh, I'll just fucking bust his shit up like I did to Javon, And it felt very when he won the NXT title the first time, literally just kind of falling into it, because he takes a trick shot and falls into a pin in a 4-way match, and that's how he wins the championship. And for Ricky to be hot right now and drop the title, it made me go back on Ethan's page. I was like, he's already a 2-time NXT champion, right? And it's he's I thought he was a 2-time North American champion, but this is actually his first time winning the North American champion, but he's 2-time NXT champion. And I'm like, damn, he's hot-handed in NXT. You know what I'm saying? Just when it comes to being very trustworthy, clearly.
I mean, he won the NXT championship
6 weeks in.
Yeah,
not even that long.
Pretty quickly. Yeah.
That you obviously that grabs your attention, because I told you I liked him the thing with Ethan Page is that he's always been great everywhere he's been. Mm-hmm. The most he was ever featured was TNA as tag team champions with Josh Alexander in the North. Because even when he was in AEW, he was just kind of background, you know, guy. And yeah, but this work he's doing is amazing.
I'm a fan of Ethan Page.
For sure. I love it.
I agree with you though, mid-rising. And the fact that I'm curious to see how this plays out in the next few months, especially with this 4-way that they got set up immediately during the show with Javon Evans, Laredo Kid, and Ray Phoenix.
Yeah, they're appearing in the crowd.
Yeah. I
wonder if Ricky Starks collide. Yeah.
I wonder if Ricky Starks gets in there and turns it into a 5-way.
Yeah, man, shit. Maybe that's why I don't know. I figure they felt like that would be like redundant styles, kind of. Like they're both very classic wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Versus, I mean, Javon makes sense because he's just a black luchador. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a high flying ass nigga. So it's like you only want one grounded guy, and Ricky Saints ain't literally the strongest. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Not to say he ain't strong, but Ethan's a bigger guy to be the base clearly of that match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For all these high flyers. But yeah, that's really exciting. And we got to go, with the shocking news. And basically kind of the reason all of this, like I'd say the reason for this episode title, the changing of the old
and the new guys.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because Steph Baker loses the NXT Women's title to JC Jane. Obviously, like straight up, we know Steph is still gonna beat her, but due to interference, you know, Fallon Henley does one of my favorite women's moves. When she pulls it off right, it's like that 619 around the pole.
Yeah.
That when she grabs the turnbuckle and kicks Stephanie Vaquer in the face. And it's just I don't know if there's a name for it, but it's just basically the rolling elbow, which is JC Jane's finisher, and catches Stephanie Vaquer with it 1, 2, 3. And she looks just as shocked, but I know immediately that it's like, okay, this is still like written because they have the direct shot on the announcer.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, he's like, oh my God, like I can't believe it.
Do I have to say it?
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, I can't believe I have to say this. Like, our new champion, what? Like, JC Jane. I'm like, wow, okay. And that's really where I was like, yeah, my thought for this episode, listeners out there, was Wrestling Solstice, because it's like, it felt like some kind of demarcation event with like all the titles changing. Like I said, with Steph Baker allegedly getting called up, she's no longer the NXT Women's Champion. Trick is the TNA Men's Champion. I guarantee you, somebody that's under a WWE contract is about to be the AAA Heavyweight Champion. I can guarantee you that. And you know, all of this stuff happening. I mean, Ricky Saints felt a little too early. A whole lot of shit is shifting up. So we're getting for a new, like I said, this was a mid-season refresher. We're clearly at the end of like season or the quarter mark of the season, you know what I'm saying, for the whole year.
This is like when the Super Bowl ends and then you have like that few periods where like everybody's kind of like regrouping and catching their breath before like the new season starts. It's like that little in-between break. Mm-hmm. I will have this match as mid-rising. I'm curious. I will give the same thing that I said for Kalani when she won the North American Championship. Good luck. Because you won the match off shenanigans. You know what I'm saying? Like it gives Stephanie a good, a good loss in a sense. Like you didn't take a, it wasn't
it was a dusty finish.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, but I'm like, and I get it. You got a squad with you, so they're gonna help you kind of like retain and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, you'll be able to retain. But again, I'm curious to see how this plays out, especially with the fact that, like, again, if it's true that Stephanie and Jordan Grace are both being called up to the main roster, I'm like, all right, like, let's see.
Jada Parker's there.
Let's see how this championship reign goes, and like, let's see how well you do as champion. Though again, I wish it was a little bit more cleaner of a win, but I get it. And the surprise factor,
you're protecting
a little bit of it was a bit cheesy, like you said, putting the camera right on the cameraman, on the announcer. I didn't think that was needed. I think you could have just kind of left it on the camera of like JC Jane's like shocked face. Yeah. But like I said, mid-rising because I'm curious to see how this is gonna play out.
Primo for the surprise and just the call of it, honestly.
Facts.
That's why I was like, that's why I had it Primo.
That's like, facts.
I didn't have JC Jane as the next women's champion.
Same.
I wouldn't have chosen her. Like I said, Jada Parker is immediately in my head. I'm like, all right, so what's this? Because they're taking a blow, or like you said, they're gonna need. We were saying how the NXT women's division was the best in the world. That was, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, when all of them are like arriving, and it's like it's amazing how quickly
everybody's just
it's
like,
just
yeah.
like, I mean, but everybody's ready. So it's like, hey, might as well get them on there. I just hope that, like we said, it's not wasted motion where it's like, all right, we know how great all these women are, and then they just end up like being enhancement for like a Charlotte or a Bianca or a Rhea.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You want them actually making those international, or I'd say intercontinental and like US title divisions feel important.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I would want those titles being featured and like, let's get storylines with those.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I can hope for that. But what else I got on here? Yeah, that was the big stuff that happened. Oh, and then I got it because we got the director of authority of TNA. I'm making an appearance on the Titantron, specifically say, "Oh, Tricky Will, like, you will defend the TNA championship on TNA."
Yeah.
Next week. So because Mike Santana showed up.
Yeah, match against Tavion Heights, which I thought was pretty good. I put that in Shake. I'll put that in Shake. That was a good match.
Shake, yeah. And I liked Mike Santana. He's been great in TNA on his solo run. Also, former part of like the old LAX previously. And that was in AEW too. They were LAX.
Yeah. But
now he's on his solo run and finisher, which I love it. It's just the same as like Natty's discus clothesline. It's just that spin the block.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, and a pile driver. I forget. That's part of his signatures too. It's I forget. One of them's called drive by too. I forget. It's a hood. It's a hood ass character. From the Bronx. From the Bronx, exactly. And immediately it just made me think. I'm like, bro, I miss Eddie Kingston so bad. Like Eddie Kingston needs to come back. But
I guarantee you. Okay, going back to Trick being on Raw. Who's on? You can have Damian Priest and Mike Santana versus Trick Williams and whoever tag team partner he gets on.
Yeah.
There.
And Carmelo Hayes or whoever. But yeah, I like that just with the street connection. That'd be great for him.
It could happen.
But once again, that's great for the people. Is that necessarily great for the company? Because that's
you're getting.
We're not rehashing it. We already know where we stand.
I don't know why you don't think having your stars on the biggest wrestling show in the world is a problem on Netflix.
No, not.
It's not helping the company.
Yeah. Well, I said we're not rehashing it. We already had the full discussion.
So. I had one.
That's all I had.
I had one other shake I wanted to add. The Obafemi Jasper Troy segment, especially after Jasper Troy's debut match against Dante Chen. He looked, obviously he was clearly gonna wash Dante Chen, so it was just to make him look good. He looked good. Presentation was really done well. I like the black and white kind of carrying cross kind of entrance kind of thing. But I like the segment between the after kind of little back and forth that he had, at least Obafemi had with Jasper Troy. And it just gets me. I don't think Jasper Troy is gonna come out winning, but who knows? Maybe Oba could be on the way to being on to the main roster soon. Who knows? But I'm just curious to see how that match plays out, especially between like these two big giants. And usually when you see two big guys like that, they're not as like athletic, and they both are pretty athletic. So we might see actually like a really good big man, meaty big men slapping meats and stuff like that, whatever they call it.
Yeah, slapping meats.
Slapping meats.
But yeah, I will remind you of one of the best rivalries: Dominic Dijak and Keith Lee. Yeah, like you said, you don't expect big guys to move, but when they do, that's why we love Ivar.
Yeah,
because his finisher is a doom salt. You see a guy at 330 pounds doing a moonsault, you know that guy on the other side is dead. Or Bronson Reed doing tsunamis. But that's all I got from TNA, or excuse me, NXT. See, look at me already getting them confused.
That's on you.
Yeah.
Let's go over to the bodega.
I just had the
bodega, the coffee shop.
I just had the major stuff on here. I noticed you didn't put anything on the Notion doc, but for me, it's just about the big picture stuff and obviously the fallout of Double or Nothing. So really, the primos for me was just the storyline promos of our contenders going into All In, which was Hangman talking about his win, and then getting interrupted by Swerve, who can't stand the sight of this, and Will Ospreay basically coming out and interrupting that tension and being like, telling Swerve, which I thought was funny. I agree with Shoes in the sense of like, in kayfabe, like Will Ospreay is like, hey, we both thought we were the guy to like, win the AEW championship and take it out of that briefcase. We're not the guys. It's him. We got one shot at this. And immediately I'm like, why is there only one shot? Like, there's going to be another pay-per-view. Like, he's just going to be the champion until y'all beat him. So I'm like, I don't understand why it's one shot. But just the drama of it, like he's added to it. Yeah, it was done well. And it's just like, look past the cheesiness of like, hey, we got to work together, man, Because the Death Riders clearly, like you said, they're not, or initially it didn't feel like they started off well. I mean, they actually started off amazingly, but they didn't capitalize on their heat of killing Bryan Danielson to the point where people I know struggle to understand what exactly it was about. And like you said, it's hard for people to like latch on to characters, especially if like the most important thing was like a web exclusive. You know what I'm saying? Or not featured on television. Because I remember showing that to you and I was like, that was a champion of the week for me. But it was like, yeah, we could have used this extended like interview like 6 weeks ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? And them actually laying out that similar to like Seth is that he's remaking AEW in his image because ain't nobody working hard enough. You know what I'm saying? And that's as simple as what the Death Riders are. And then you add in some Moxley brutality, and that's it. But yeah, I think it's obviously both. I think, would you be like comfortable saying that these are locks going into All In? Like Mercedes is definitely winning the AEW championship, and Hangman is definitely winning the World Championship, right?
At this point in time, you would say so, right? I would say Hangman is a lock.
Hangman's a lock.
I don't know about Mercedes winning.
Okay, this is where I was like,
I agree with you though. Both of those segments are primo.
Yeah, I just think that because this is actually just a good segue right now. I'll just talk about Mercedes and Tony right now. But this was the first time that they were actually in the ring and talking to each other. And obviously, I'm the best from both of them. And we were talking about it last night, but the Mercedes just jumping straight into like Tony's like sexual innuendo like promos and just not breaking. Like she did break a little bit, which I appreciated. Like the money trade better have some girth to it, baby. If you're gonna do some damage to these hips. And then she's like, "Oh yeah, the money trade is pretty wide or whatever the fuck." But Tony said, "Like, I'll see you in 7 weeks," and it's like, bro, we got 7 weeks. Like, y'all better be in the ring again. Like at some point in time, y'all are like. I agree that like, okay, in this point in time, it's clearly the biggest women's match, but you could heat this up some more. Not you don't want to overcook it, but you could make this feel like, I'm at least as much of a not a blood feud, but as much of like at least we don't like each other. You know what I'm saying? Make us care about it.
Like training. You know what I'm saying? Like Tony could be in the skybox watching a Mercedes match, and vice versa or whatever. It's just like
they've been doing that up to this point already. She was doing that already.
But like, I think now there is a little bit more of like, okay, this is my opponent. I am preparing for my opponent. This is like in college football back before they had the playoffs. It's like, all right, you knew who the championship game was going to be by the time it was like December 8th, right? And the game is going to be like January 8th.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, we got a month to prepare for this fucking goddamn for this NCAA football championship. Yeah. That's how it kind of feels like. So I can understand if like we might not see them in the ring together or like have these like I can see within like a week or two before the actual show, we might have like the last in-ring kind of verbal kind of,
I think
conversation. But I think everything in between will just be like interviews, conversations. You just kind of see them kind of just scoping each other out and kind of,
I just think it's
training and doing strategy and just kind of treating like boxing or like a UFC match rather than like
making it feel important and big. Yeah, for sure. Like get physical maybe like twice. I mean, I just think it's an interesting amount. I think it's like almost like a perfect amount of time to just build it. Like because they're such big stars. Like usually, if we're coming off like, in WWE for example, like Backlash, it's so quick after WrestleMania that you're just like, all right, this is just a fallout show. Yeah. But with it having like a full 7 weeks to breathe from or going into like their WrestleMania, it's like, even though they've been kept this far apart this entire time, I feel like you could make this more than just like in ring, like the greatest wrestling match ever. You could storyline make it better. But either way, I'm just wondering how they're gonna do that, and I just hope it's not like the simple like Mercedes will sneak attack Tony at some point.
Yeah, I just
That's
think
what I'm saying.
I
want it to be more than that. Like, make it more than just the standard cheap shot, and that's why I don't like you.
I just feel like a lot of times, especially when you have bills, the rushing in and interfering in someone's match happens a little too frequently, and just not even just one storyline, but just multiple storylines. If you can do it multiple times between one and the other wrestlers, and it's like, all right, like we know most. Also, make sure we got these. Sorry for the audio technical difficulties. We are back. But yeah, I was making my point. I just feel like there's a lot of times where the matches, we know these matches are not going to end in clean, or they're probably just going to end in DQs because someone interfered in the match. And I'd rather let them have their matches and know that they're going to win and just put on a good match showing like, okay, I've added to my style. I'm picking up on something that Mercedes might be doing, that here's a counter. Or same thing with Tony. If Mercedes in a match, it's like, oh, this opponent does something that Tony might do.
Yeah.
I found a counter. And so you basically just seeing them kind of face these other wrestlers, actually train and get the wins. And they're both kind of, all right, props. Okay, cool. I see what you're doing. Okay, I see you picked up on this. You've done that. And just treat it like a real fight and not like a wrestling match. And I think that could be
fun. Yeah. Obviously, AEW always has great wrestling on there. I didn't put this on the Notion doc, but the standard multi-man match of the week. Basically, it was Anarchy in the Arena Part 2, sort of, without the stipulation and everything. But it was Moxley, Gabe Kidd, and Marina Shafir defeating Mark Briscoe, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Willow Nightingale by referee stoppage. So that was your party match of the week. That was great in ring. And really, I'm just glad that Marina Shafir and like Willow's getting this time. Like they were the gems of like Anarchy in the Arena anyway. I didn't mention that before, but yeah, Willow, one of the spots in Anarchy in the Arena we talked about last night was when Marina Shafir like puts a padlock through like Willow Nightingale's ear through her gauge, and then the crowd starts chanting like, "Please help Willow!" Like, please, we like release our baby girl. Like, we don't want her to get hurt.
My wrestling match for this, I think I probably have this mid-stable to mid-rising. Brody King versus Josh Alexander.
Oh, yeah. That was actually the best wrestling that was on the show.
That was probably the best match. There was actually a lot of blood, and it seemed unintentional.
Yeah, it was unintentional.
Both in the Josh Alexander match and the Harley Cameron. Harley Cameron got busted open as well. She, like, took a face plant onto, like, the steel steps, and it seemed like she really, like,
cracked her shit. Yeah. There's been a lot of broken noses this week. Chelsea Green just last week broke her nose, too, so... It's contagious, clearly. It was a ripple effect in wrestling.
And then you saw the Kyle Fletcher. He nearly gave Adam Cole a concussion off of
a missed like power bomb, basically
on the apron, on the side apron. So a lot of potential and definitely injuries.
This was an injury-prone week this week. This was a bad week. Also mid-rising, I have Tekla's debut from Stardom. Jamie Hayter just reeling from her loss to Mercedes Moné, getting interviewed by Renee Paquette. And then all of a sudden we get Tekla debuting, who immediately is hot. Like, I'm immediately thirsting for Tekla. I've never seen her before, but I'm like, oh shit, yeah. She does it for me. And she hit that, Bray Wyatt, or,
like spider kind of.
Yeah, her spider walk thing, like the upside down, like, which obviously she's in there. Like, I mean, we looked her up. She's 26. I mean, of course, they're all doing, all of them are doing back bends and shit like that right at that age. So it's like, she just goes into it so quickly, like that it's like kind of very similar and intimidating, like Bray Wyatt. But
it turned into a meme pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see like a whole, like, immediately like a Rhea Ripley mommy thing with her, for AEW. She's not tatted and all that stuff, but the intimidating factor, I believe it. And that was it for AEW specifically for me. And the last thing, on the TNA shelf that obviously was worth mentioning was the Director of Authority, Santino Marella, finally got the chance. They got with his daughter to tag together. So that was just a great family moment. You know, just like the Mercedes, or I said the Mercedes, the Mysterios, winning the tag team championships at Mania. So cool to see families come together, the family business living on.
Yeah, that was actually, I'll just call this out. The Era Champions of the Week for me this week. They get the Bill Withers, just the two of us, championship belt for being the first father-daughter to be tag team in TNA history.
Yeah.
And that makes me think that they didn't say wrestling history, because I'm like, did Charlotte and Rick ever have a match together? I assume they possibly did, because I feel like this would be the first father-daughter.
Yeah.
Like tag team. But I would need to,
because intergender wrestling is already so rare. So the fact that you got father and daughter together to do it. Like now we're gonna have to wait until it's like Seth and Rue. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the next generation.
But congratulations to them. Champions of the Week.
Yeah, for sure. But that's it. That's all I got from the coffee shop. So
same here. Good episode of Dynamite. They've been killing it, AEW.
Yeah, they've said they're more than hit their stride.
Book of Wrestling. Let's get into it. All right. Before we get into the Book of Wrestling, we have one bit of current event that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. I saw this on Instagram, and it's a big congratulations to Konosuke Takeshita, one of my guys for sure of the year, last year, former international champion, and Yuka Sakazaki, who are now married.
That's awesome.
The magical girl from Stardom. She's also had some like AEW, run.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that she'll make some more appearances and stuff. And they posted to social media. They've been together for like a while. They I think 10 years, he said. But there was a post from her, him, and their dog, just saying like, "Hey, we're married now." So, and it's cute.
Yeah, it's a great picture. Yeah, got it right here on like the web bookmark.
Yeah.
Like, aw, it's crazy though. Like she's living in Japan. He's obviously here. I'm like, how do y'all make that work?
Yeah.
But you've been together for 10 years, so I guess it's like, you have a pretty strong relationship, and they both traveling and stuff like that. It's good that she's made appearances on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the newly married couple.
And this announcement was really that they become parents, dog parents. That's what this was about. But yeah, they are married though. It was also a marriage reveal. So it says our golden duel.
We played ourselves.
No. And there was an announcement that she was pregnant and had a golden doodle named Kenshiro. Okay, so that was also why it was like that. All right. But the Book of Wrestling, we have one entrant in each category. However you want to look at this, one in the match and one in the actual moment.
I will go with the Too Cool. So on May 29th.
This will be the match,
2000. Too Cool wins the tag titles against Edge and Christian. And I feel like I remember watching this match. This was a pretty fun match, but I mean, it's obviously not going to be the most spectacular match because Too Cool was just more of an entertainment. But for people that weren't aware, like Too Cool was over like nobody's business. Yeah. Like
this is them at their peak right here.
Scotty Too Hottie, Grandmaster Sexay, rest in peace.
Scotty Too Hottie at this point in time was my favorite wrestler. Like not even joking. He was inherently my favorite wrestler over
when
everybody.
He would hit the fucking face buster off the rope and then come up and then just look shocked at the camera and then start his little worm dance and then WORM.
The crowd goes crazy.
Crowd went crazy. Grandmaster Sexay with the goggles and all stuff.
The hip hop drop.
Man, great tag team. And then you get the dance every time. It'd be the same thing. It'd be the same thing every week. Rikishi be like, "Nah, man, I'm about to leave." They're like, "Nah, you can't leave. You can't leave." And they give him the glasses, and then he puts the glasses on, and he just turns into this dancing machine. And they turn off the lights. He's like, Well deserved. That's what makes wrestling so great. And now this is also another thing for Santino. Santino needs to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, bro. This is like one of those things where it's like, you don't need to have like the it's not like NFL football or basketball where you need to have like all of these accomplishments of being world champion. It's like, man, did you get over with the crowd?
Exactly. Like comedy character, like R-Truth is going in the Hall of Fame. You know, as a comedy character.
Yeah.
Because he was not like we were able to finally get his moment at this past Mania or 2 Manias ago.
Yeah, when he wanted the tag
team titles, he's the one taking them down, and it's like, oh yeah, finally. You know? So yeah, he's going in the Hall of Fame. There is obviously that category needs to exist for sure.
Not even a category, man. Like I said, Godfather got in, and he's just a fun character that just got over with the fans. So shout out to Too Cool.
Yeah, shouts to them. And also, and the thing about that is, Brian Christopher, sadly, we know he passed away, but only 6 months after that, after winning the tag titles, that's their first time winning. And he passes away less than 6 months after that.
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
No, he passed away like 2015.
Never mind, you're lying. Look at me making shit up. See, that's what I get for believing.
He came back on television and he cussed out his father when Michael Cole was like a heel commentator.
Damn. All right, well, I'm willing to acknowledge that. I'm bullshitting. Or not I'm bullshitting, but that's what I get for like, I got ball sacked, basically. Ball sack sports or whatever. But the other entrant on here, May 30th, 2017. You remember Sanjay Dutt?
I do not.
Sanjay Dutt's only championship win. Sanjay Dutt is a long tenured TNA guy, and he did get a WWE contract, back when he was growing up. Never. I think he was part of Muhammad Hassan. I think he was featured with him. Okay. And I feel like, because it definitely wasn't, I feel like it might have been Great Khali he was managing, but I remember, like, what was his name? Eric Estrada was with Umaga. Yeah. So it's not him. But either way, he's in a Davari. There we go. That's Davari. Davari is Sanjay Dutt. Okay. There we go. Thank you. But he's a long tenured, TNA guy, basically. Okay. For the TV tapings of Impact Wrestling were held in Mumbai, India. And the main event of the show, Sanjay Dutt defeated Low Key to win the Impact Wrestling X Division title. This was Sanjay Dutt's 35th title shot for the X Division title and was his only successful attempt. And the match would go on to air June 15th. So just the fact, once again, very similarly, like you think of a guy who's like, all right, R-Truth. We know R-Truth is, if he got a match, he's losing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. If it's for a title, he's losing. Unless it's only the speed title. Or no, what was it? The 24/7 title. But yeah, similar thing with Sanjay Dutt. He finally conquered the mountain after 35 attempts. So that's what I thought was funny. That's our other entrant into the book of wrestling right there. And that's it for this week.
All right, let's get into our final show of the week. And that is at the boutique. SmackDown. This mouse just loves to disappear.
Which, yeah, you were over for. You came over. We watched in person. Like we ended up missing like the first 45 minutes until I saw a YouTube post that reminded me. Yeah. But after going back and watching it, Primo, best thing on the show for me was the continued Naomi and Bianca drama and Jade, all that. Because Bianca returns, not fully returned. She's still not medically cleared, but still has her broken hand. But we haven't seen her in a while, like you said. And she's still like happy and healthy. And she's like, hey, I'm working on getting cleared. I'm still here, guys, basically. Yeah. And then Naomi comes out, interrupts her, and hey, I just want to be friends again, can't we just like let the bygones be bygones, Stop thinking about the past. I'm like, this show is 5 weeks ago. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because Bianca's like, what do you want? What do you want from me? And she's like, I just want to be besties again. And that's immediately me as a fan. I'm like, I can't help but be on Bianca. So I'm like, that was 5-6 weeks, bro. Like, ain't no time pass at all.
And she talked about sneaking into her house and like looking at her.
That's
pictures.
What was great.
Like, that's a little weird.
And that's what was great because she's like, she gave us a Swerve promo without, she gave us Swerve exposition. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We didn't see the vignette that was up there, but that's immediately what I was picturing was Naomi. She was like, oh yeah, I went to your parents' house, and they had Bianca's parents sitting ringside.
Hey, because they were in Knoxville.
Yeah. So that was her hometown while she was there. But she was like, oh yeah, I went to your house. Oh yeah, that little photo album with you on the swing set or something like that. and basically Bianca threatened her, "Hey, stop being weird. Like, don't go in my parents' house. You come any of my family again, I'll beat your ass. I'll do worse than Jade did." And then Naomi won the battle because she's like, "Oh, you don't want to do that, like, because it would be terrible if you and your mother was matching in wheelchairs." I'm like, dang. So just telling us that Bianca's mom is in a wheelchair, she'll make you match your mother. And on top of that,
I'll put that mid-rising for me just because I'm curious to see how it builds upon, because it came out of left field that she was like, "Yeah, Elle's in your house." I'm like, why would you do that? That seems just I get it, you're crazy, but like that was just never in the Naomi character that I'm like, where did that come from?
That's why I like it's amping it up. I think it's just I'm just believing what they're showing me. So it's a primo because we're advanced in this storyline. Naomi comes out with the win in the Money in the Bank triple threat between Jade and Nia. So we've been asking for a Naomi win.
Yeah.
This is a primo. This like that was the best thing of the show, like the storyline of just Naomi.
Yeah.
This was her show. So for her to defeat a rival and get over on Cuz at the same time, because the finish of this match ends up being a we outside in the elements, y'all. So I'm about to hit this moth. You see me swatting at some shit. That thing was big and dusty as hell. That was a goddamn Pokemon.
Right.
That was a Venomoth.
Yeah, for real.
Like literally. But yeah,
second evolution right there.
Exactly. But she ends up Nia stacks him up. I love Nia stack up for the Annihilator, which immediately in kayfabe, I was like, the ref should start counting.
Yeah.
It's like she's laying, like Naomi's just laying on top of Jade right now, but she sees it coming and she moves out the way. Jade eats the Annihilator and she just rolls up Nia. So most critical or most devastating move.
I will say the refs, man, they've been a little shady. Even if you go back to the Finn Balor and Sammy match, Dominic throws in a chair in the ring. The ref literally looking at it, has all the opportunity to get it out of the ring. But he's just like, no, I'm going to let Finn Balor walk over here just to get, curb stomp on it. But I'm like, ref, what are you doing? You saw the chair get thrown in. You saw the entire thing. You weren't knocked out. You're standing on your feet. You could have did something about it.
Yeah.
Come on, refs. But I'll give it mid-rising because I just want to see how crazy can Naomi get. Like, we haven't seen I haven't seen we missed the beginning, so I read through what happened. I didn't see the.
It was good. It was a good promo.
Was there a clip of her sneaking into the house?
No. She like.
That's what I'm saying. I want to see how crazy. You said you did that. In my shoot mind, you clearly didn't do that. But in kayfabe, I will believe that you did that. I want to see how crazy Naomi is going
I think that's what it is.
That's why I got it at mid-rising.
Because I like this storyline of like, we just got done with Jade, right? Yeah. So when Bianca gets healthy, what she really needs to do is beat Naomi's ass for being weird and like breaking up their friendship anyway with her and Jade, because they were supposed to be like a whole like not a faction, but a trilogy of like tag team. They were they had the New Day rules, 3-man group, but I forget what it's called. But so that's gonna be her next feud is Naomi. And right now we're just doing that. We're gonna build this like when Drew and CM Punk were, injured, but you were still building it up.
Yeah.
I think it'll be just Naomi. Like I said, I'm believing this character that they're giving us. So it's like,
I'll believe it too.
She flipped the switch and now she's like proceed with caution, and now she's a weird stalker chick, you know, kind of similar. Which is funny because the most famous stalker that got over is Mickie James. And Mickie James had a great Hall of Fame career. So it's like, that's awesome. And we're just flipping that into like the crazy fan, bestie.
That's what we asked for, character development.
Exactly.
Some characters being developed. And I do like the fact that she got the win because kind of similar to the argument where we talked about when it was Andrade, Carmelo, and Jacob. I was like, I hope Jacob doesn't win this because I'm not trying to see Andrade versus Carmelo for the umpteenth time. And I'm glad that in this situation, it seems like we're going to get maybe Jade versus Nia, at least as like a possible feud. Yeah. Just because, again, that's just my mental. Like I told you, it's just like
just doing the math.
It just seems like these triple threats kind of work out in a sense. Like whoever doesn't get in is probably going to get into a rivalry with the other person that also lost. So that's just how my mental's playing out. But I give it mid-rising just to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, and my other primo that I had was basically that like what I've been saying SmackDown is focus on women in the tag teams. So basically the entire tag team element of the show, I didn't put it on here, but the tag team actual match that we got was Los Garzas versus Franken team, Ray Phoenix, and Javon Evans, surprisingly.
Yeah,
where
random.
it's like, oh, he's on SmackDown?
Yeah.
Okay, so are we getting a call up for him too? Possibly, but it's like they were tagging since day one. Like, they're the Lucha Bros because, and once again, immediately in your head, it's like, oh yeah, this is just a preview for Worlds Collide, obviously. So yeah, Javon just fits with the luchador. That's like, he's just a black luchador. That's all he is. But Los Garzas, I made the prediction as we were watching. I was like, yeah, they need to win it because they're actually a tag team. So.
It's the same argument for the Don Callis family. It's just like, y'all been on the losing end too much, and y'all are good. Y'all just need to win something. So glad they got the win.
Yeah, and but the match, the actual in-ring aspect was the best thing on the show for sure. Amazing. And also, just storyline element, the tag team division. What happened earlier in the show is the Street Profits. Hey, we retained the championships again. Y'all thought Fraxium was a shit, but guess what? We still the champions. Fraxium come out, and we just get the entire, breaking my heart as I think about this, the entire tag team division, all the major contenders come out. So immediately we get Fraxium, we get Motor City Machine Guns, we get DIY, we even get Los Garzas and this match later on. So focus on tag teams, and I'm gonna bring it up again for our listeners, but you notice who wasn't there is Pretty Deadly, and that just upsets me so much.
We did get the Wyatt Six as well.
Well, that's how I was leading to that, but yes, we get all of that built up, all four of those teams in there fighting over, who's actually the best tag team. And then we get the Wyatt Six, the lights go out, and the Wyatt Six slotting themselves into the tag team division. Because we were wondering what they were going to do, and now it's clear. At least they have a goal. It's not just like them being spooky for spooky's sake. Yeah. So that's the reason that I like it. Because it was a declaration of war, basically.
And it doesn't stop Bo from going after the U.S. Championship or whatever it may be. Yeah, I could see Bo versus Damian Priest would be interesting.
Yeah, the tag team would be I'm forgetting their names, but Dexter Loomis and I forget. Joe Gacy.
Yeah,
there we go.
On TV for so long.
Exactly, Joe Gacy. I gotta remember. But yeah, they're the ones who've been doing a tag team move sets together. So they're clearly the tag team. And then you got Bo Dallas, who's the leader, who's like U.S. champion or something like that at their peak of powers, you would imagine, or maybe an IC or women's U.S. champion in Nikki Cross if they could ever get that bridge there.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's the thing that I appreciate. Actual declaration of war. Okay, we know what they're doing. Tag team titles. They're a part of the tag team division.
Clear storylines in SmackDown for the tag team.
Exactly. Even though it's simple enough, but it's like, guess what? You can just feature the tag teams because when you're not featuring them, it's like that's how they fall into the back of the mind. Because yes, I understand them. It's more expensive to run tag team divisions because they're inherently you're just doubling, the expense, and you have more injury costs. But guess what? We're not going to care about them unless you feature them. So the more time you get, the more we're going to care. And we already know these guys can give us matches, so let's go with some storylines now. Let's build on the momentum. But now it's like the new challenger arrived. So that's the storyline we're getting right now. Is everybody is clearly afraid of the Wyatt Six because they came in and took out all the tag teams. So
it'd be interesting if they had a Money in the Bank briefcase for tag teams.
Which they did that, remember?
Did they?
Yeah, they did that.
Oh, okay.
Back when Heavy Machinery was still a thing, Otis won, and he used it for the tag team championships, which they ended up losing.
Otis was in what you call it. I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure that was a regular tag Money in the Bank, and he won it, and then he lost it to Miz.
He was gonna use it for the tag team titles. I remember that was a thing. That was definitely a match during the pandemic when they did, because that was the one when it was a sort of cinematic, and they did it at WWE headquarters, and it was on top of the fucking building.
Yeah, but that was just a regular Money in the Bank. That wasn't a tag team Money in the Bank.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's storyline. Cause I remember Otis won it, and he said that. So maybe I'm just remembering that. Yeah. But either way, that was the primos or my primos for the week.
I'll have them as mid risings, just because I'm curious. I would have everything as mid rising that we just talked about. That's just me.
Okay. Andrade Carmelo, or Andrade won the match.
Yeah,
we didn't deep dive into it, but
I'm just glad that I agree with you. It's mid rising as well, just for the fact that I'm glad that it wasn't Jacob, because again, my mental is just like, okay, whoever doesn't win this match is going to be facing each other, and I didn't want to see as great as they put on. I'm not trying to see Andrade versus Carmelo Part 15.
Yeah.
So if it's gonna be Carmelo trying to go after the U.S. title against Jacob, which Carmelo could win it, especially with all the shenanigans that are happening between Jacob and Solo and JC Mateo. That would be a good look. I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
So mid-rising.
And then once again the just silly finish of like Solo being the distraction for Fatu and losing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm on your side. Do another moonsault.
Yeah.
He like I said, he has just hit his stride with the comedy of him. Like, it's just so fucking funny. Like, even you missed it, but he does this little twinkle toes fucking like he's doing his knees together like this, like that he was celebrating on the outside. That shit was funny. He's like, do another moonsault, do another one, like encouraging him into a distraction. But yeah, weird stuff. But the other mid I had on here, because you got to talk about it. It's obviously the main event, or the WWE Championship. But the Cena and Cody and Jey Uso and Logan Paul also promo / brawl, where Cena comes out and calls both of them wannabes. They're John Cena wannabes with you're holding a fake championship. I'm the last real champion, all this stuff. There's one guy who deserves to be like the next real champion, and he introduces Logan Paul, which is funny. And yeah, just wanting us to care about the tag match because we're getting this tag match, at Money in the Bank. So that's all that this was about, heating us up for that.
Yeah. I don't care about this match at all.
Yeah.
This feels like a TKO trying to we need to sell tickets for this stadium. And so let's put this match. Like I said, as soon as John Cena interfered in that match, I was like, I am done with this. Like, I wasn't on the full train. I was just on the platform. I'm like, okay, I can see how people are kind of saying this heel John Cena turn hasn't worked out. And I'm like, okay, now I'm like, if this is what we're doing, it just feels like John Cena, like I told you yesterday, it feels like John Cena is just killing off dates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that's also heel enough in its nature, but I'm like, not like this, bro. This is your last time wrestling, and these are the stories that we're getting. This is the story that we're getting.
Oh, I got
you teaming with Logan Paul. Forget it. I'm like, wake me up when you do something interesting as a heel champion.
Okay, yeah. You're saying this is clearly because we still care about Cena as the heel champion, clearly, but in a tag match, it's that's not where you want to see him. He's not doing anything major, right?
Yeah.
It's inherently it's a tag match. It doesn't matter. The title isn't moving, right? But what came to my head, or I just had a little doomsday theory about Finn Balor and the Judgment Day. Immediately, what comes to my mind is he said he's gonna ruin wrestling. Everybody loves fucking Jey Uso. It's kind of similarly to what my outside booking was before Mania, when I was like, Jey Uso's gonna win the title, and then Roman, his cousin, is just gonna take it from him.
Yeah.
Where the hottest thing smoking that we care about face-wise is Jey Uso. The Yeaton is at an all-time high. And why would he poke his nose in Jey Uso's business? Because he's holding a fake championship, and I'm the last real champion. So guess what? We can take it back to the last time me and Randy were in the ring, and I won my, what would that be, 16th championship. And you remember it was the big gold belt and the WWE championship. Have John Cena win the World Heavyweight Championship off of Jey Uso. He's unified the championships, and he retires. And I ruin wrestling because I took the best. That's just him being an asshole.
Yeah.
And that's shooting bail, because it's would he do that? Some people are thinking, yeah. It's near the end, he'll be like, oh, I fell into my evil ways. I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't have done this without you. Whatever, possibly. But yeah, for him, that's the only way I can think of him being even more evil. How can he be more evil?
Yeah.
Take the other championship. And like you said,
we're not getting that right now. We're getting a tag team match with Logan Paul. And
sure.
Okay.
That's just, outside shot. Why are you fucking with Jay? Because you're on a different show. But he's like, hey, that's the one thing he's being on his chest.
Yeah, that logic makes sense. I'm just not excited for this. So I'm like, okay, let's just.
Like I said, it's a tag match.
It almost feels like a Saturday night's main event.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
That's just going to be on a pop-up show.
The only reason that we're supposed to care about this is because it's Cody's first match back.
Yeah.
That's why. So it's Cody that's carrying the weight of this match. So that's all the major stuff. And then the shake that I had previous to losing his Money in the Bank qualifier, Damian Priest came out and basically was like establishing. I guess he was like establishing his character. That's all he was, or reaffirming it. It was like, hey, I'm done with Drew, but I respect Fatu. Whenever you put somebody's name in your mouth, you're just slotting yourself in the division. So it's like he's like, you from the streets, I'm from the streets, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm down for this. You're gonna get moonsaulted into hell, but I was like, but I'm down for this match. That's clearly gonna end in a street fight, or it should be, that'll be the rubber match for him.
I'd like to see a triple threat.
Yeah, or a trilogy between them.
Well, I'm saying not a triple threat.
Oh, actual triple threat. Okay.
Because I said Carmelo, get Carmelo in there, and you get Carmelo versus Damian Priest versus Jacob.
Yeah,
that'd be dope.
Yeah. No, that's dope as shit. And the only other thing is JC Mateo. That was funny. I don't know if you saw this. Like back earlier on in the night when.
No, I missed this match. Yeah,
when they show up, Solo and JC show up with Fatu. They're walking backstage and R-Truth is talking to Lil Jimmy, and he's just like, JC is like, what the hell is going on here? He's like, hey, don't worry about Truth. Like, it's not gonna be he tripping, like basically. And JC gets in R-Truth's face, and he's talking to R-Truth talks to Solo, and he's like, is this your son? Your son got an attitude. Like, I'm gonna take him down I'm gonna talk to Nick about teaching your son a lesson. So he believes that JC Mateo is like the next generation of the bloodline. Okay. He's like, man, y'all big boned it. So he thinks he's like 12 or something. Like that's actually Solo's son. But R-Truth just killing it. And of course he took Tour of the Islands into hell and lost this match, but I like it. Still just putting over how awesome JC Mateo is. And that's all I got. Yeah. That's basically everything from the bodega.
And that's everything for the week in wrestling.
The boutique, excuse me.
I said the same thing. The same thing. That's everything that we had as far as recapping the week of wrestling. Let's get to our champions of the week.
Yeah, you go first because you got more. I only got one this week.
So I called out one of them already. I gave out the Bill Withers
you did
title to Santino.
Yep.
I'll go with we were just talking about these Islanders. I will go with this one. This is one of my favorite memes on the internet ever. It's the Bill Clinton. It's hip hop. You wouldn't get it. Just fucking take the picture, Hillary, to Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that meme, it's just like Bill Clinton, like in his hip hop kind of pose, like standing like by like some railroads in a park, by a railroad station. And this goes to Bronson Reed for joining the Seth Rollins faction, whatever we're calling it, because like it's very like if you follow Bronson Reed online, like as like just on Twitter or whatever, it's like dude is like really into hip hop.
Yeah, he has like one of the best T-shirt collections. He's another one of those guys.
Yeah. So it's like kind of like Samoa Joe.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, adding him to a group with like Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. I'm like, all right, super rock and roll here. Bronson Reed brings the hip hop, and so it's basically him just basically being the Bill Clinton. Like, yo, just take the picture, bro. y'all don't even understand this. It's just hip hop. Just fucking take the picture. So. It's a good look. It adds a little bit of hip hop to the whole bunch of rock and roll that's in that group. So.
That's funny. If I had to, Seth is definitely like hair metal rock and roll for sure, with his like outlandish dressing and stuff. It's funny because I would have Braun is country. Braun Breaker, because remember he was wearing the 10-gallon hat for a bit too. So you got rock and roll, country, and hip hop right there balancing it out. So I like that title. That's dope. We'll have to go back in the episode. I gave out like another champion, or what did I say? I was like, I'm stripping. Or there was a new champion in one of the other categories.
Yeah, the Leo championship.
Oh yeah, for this, for the Vision, or that's what I'm calling him.
Yeah,
the Vision. My title, I couldn't come up with a name, but it's really just a shout out to this fan, Atomic Drops, who made another one of the Cody, I call it, there's no even song title, but it's definitely Cody Raheem Rhodes.
Yeah.
And him just playing the theme song and redoing the lyrics to Cody's theme song and saying, my favorite Negro. And he's got like the Kunta Kinte, like head wrap on, like Cody and shit like that. And it was just amazing. And then we come to find out, like, or you even sent it to me that, they got a podcast and they talked about it.
Yeah.
And
Brandy answered it. Yeah. Cody asked the question to Brandy about what do you think about the Cody Raheem Rhodes.
He must have seen this exact video. I think,
And she said she didn't feel offended by it. People make jokes and like, you know, it's not anything done out of maliciousness and stuff like that. So she doesn't pay any mind to it. She doesn't bother her. But Cody didn't answer. Yeah. But I will counteract because I've seen that. I saw the clip before I saw the meme, but I'm like, I saw in the meme, it was like talking about, he was like, I take myself as a Negro icon very seriously. I'm like, bro, I had to keep this in check. And another one of these memes, one of my favorite classic movie lines, that these are two titles that I just wanted to use, and I'm forcing to use them this week. So this is the Ronnie from Role Models. Mm-hmm. Ronnie, if you don't remember him, he was like Bobby J. Thompson, little black kid, foul mouth, and usually in all these movies. Yeah. You're white, you Ben Affleck. Championship to Cody Rhodes for the same exact reason. Because I'm like, yo, Cody, I appreciate it, but just remember, you white, you Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
So,
which is why I appreciated like immediately how it even went. Like that, like when you pointed that out to me, I'm like, I read to you the way I read it. It was like, well, yeah, he's a country boy from fucking Georgia. Like he don't know shit about black. Like he knows that. He's lucky he got a black wife. You know, he don't see his wife color. He's same as Triple H.
He's Cuban though.
He's smart enough.
Don't forget he's Cuban though.
True, but he's smart enough to be like, oh, it's cool. All right, cool. All right, well, fuck it. I'm letting it rock. He don't need to address it because he's like, it's all out of fun. Fine. And yeah, it's just funny as hell. Like that video just was cracking me up. So,
is there any other champions that we got this week?
Nah, that's it. But like I said, I mean, I guess we both had double champions because I basically gave out. Like I said, the Leo for the Vision. You know, and the reason that we're booing him, like I said, it's Katie joining the Warriors. I think that's a good mentality, sort of, behind it.
Yeah.
But that was our episode. Another perfect Andre Kirilenko AK-47 episode.
No Blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really the
Steel
one
Curtain.
for sure. Yeah.
And we'll be back next week for episode 48. And we got 2 pop-up shows. We counting Worlds Collide?
No, that's a YouTube show. No, that's not a pop-up show at all.
Sure, yeah, we won't count that, but we're definitely gonna count Money in the Bank, which is next week.
Like I said, we had the discussion. I mean, this came out of your mouth that Money in the Bank might as well be the actual Big Four. Like, take Survivor Series out because Survivor Series isn't really that big of a four anymore. And I was like, I agree with that.
I wouldn't take out Survivor Series. I mean,
if one of them was to, if you
had to take one out, yeah, it would probably be Survivor Series. But I still like Survivor Series, especially if you put care into it. They just haven't.
But they haven't put care into it. That's why Money in the Bank is just on the calendar. It's straight up just more important. Yeah. You know the implications are just more important. But that was it. I'm the French Fried Fro. Follow us on our socials. You know, here on YouTube. Give us a like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. There will be a Discord coming. I'm going to revamp our social stuff, by the way. This is the Habesha Hayes, my buddy Samson, and we are out of here.
Catch you all next week. Deuces, y'all.